Knowledge is power. If you understand fully what will be said in the next 35 minutes, you will have the knowledge and the power to banish poverty, greed, worry, envy, and hate from your life. Freedom from these black forces will provide happiness and prosperity for you, your family, and your associates. Chiropractic success has no boundaries. It is found in cities large and small, and graduates from all schools enjoy it. The same thing may be said of chiropractic failure. Wherein, then, lies the difference? First, let us look at a specific problem. Picture in your mind's eye 2 chiropractors, about the same age, graduates from the same school, practicing in the same town. Both equally proficient chiropractors, yet one has to struggle year after year just to keep going. The other has all that life can provide in the way of worldly goods and pleasures. What, then, is the secret? There are 1,000 differences between successes and failures in the chiropractic profession. The secret of success lies not in these differences, but can be found only by studying the common bonds that chiropractic successes and chiropractic failures share. There are 3 known roads to chiropractic success, but only one road to chiropractic failure. One way to chiropractic success is to establish your practice in a virgin territory. This method explains the amazing records of early pioneers in the profession, but leaves little opportunity for graduates today. The second way is open to a lucky few, those fortunate chiropractors who have been endowed with strong magnetic personalities. The third way to chiropractic success is open to all, and is achieved by purposely or accidentally creating the doctor image in your patient's mind. The 4 vital points or common bonds that make or break the proper doctor image are, number 1, the appearance of the doctor, his office, and his staff. Number 2, correct examination procedure. 3, the practice of frequent re-examinations. And 4, definite financial arrangements and proper collection. You must master all 4 of these in order to attain the fullest measure of chiropractic success. Yes, your ability to project the doctor image to your patient will determine the degree of your overall success. Let's understand what we're talking about when we say image. Images are mental pictures. Notice the distinctly different mental pictures you get as I mention the following occupations: professional golfer, baseball player, waitress, welder, train conductor, jockey, gambler, airline hostess, man from Mars, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. In general, your doctor image is determined by the way you look and the way you act. When a chiropractor says or does something that does not conform to the doctor image, or if he fails to do something that would complement the doctor image, it results in a poor percentage of new patient referrals and a high percentage of patients quitting before they have completed their courses of adjustments. A patient expects his doctor to be a good man, kind and courteous. He expects his doctor to be friendly, intelligent, and capable of making conversation on a wide variety of subjects, especially current events. A patient expects you to listen with sympathetic understanding and keep his confidence. And a patient expects his doctor to be a good businessman, to discuss frankly fees and arrangements for payment. The doctor image is always right, and when you are looking and acting in harmony with it, practice problems fade away. Let me give you an example of how effective images are. First, imagine a 13-year-old boy clad in blue jeans, trying to direct rush hour traffic. Pretty ridiculous, isn't it? But put that boy in a Boy Scout uniform and it becomes a different matter. The difference in his effective control of the situation lies in the image of authority projected by his uniform. When you learn and use the key symbols of the doctor image, you can have effective control over all of your patients. The uniform that you and your staff adopt in the office is an important part of creating the doctor image. Without this badge of authority, you are like an off-duty policeman, and many of your patients will question your recommendations for therapy. I suggest that you wear a white clinic jacket or coat, and that your receptionist wear a white oversmock. If you have a nurse, of course she will wear her regulation uniform. Some chiropractors hesitate to wear a white jacket because they associate it with their undergraduate days and internship. This is a false idea that they should eliminate. Also, I have heard objections to clinic coats based on the fact that barbers, dentists, and prescription clerks wear similar attire. Don't worry about this. Doctor, your patients are not confused about where they are, and they won't ask you for a haircut. Now, I know that there are some communities where clinic jackets are not customary garb for doctors. This is extremely rare, but if you must interview your patients in street clothes, let me pass on to you the advice given to new graduates by Dr. W.T. Roush. He said, "A doctor should recognize that he is handicapped when he conducts consultations in street clothes. In doing so, he loses one of the important symbols of authority, the uniform. This handicap can be overcome by furnishing white uniforms and shoes for the staff, and by giving particular attention to personal grooming. A crisp white shirt with cufflinks is the only proper dress when a clinic jacket is not worn." Dr. Roush amplified this point when he said, "Wearing the same suit or tie several days in a row indicates an inadequate wardrobe. Also, a patient wearing expensive clothing will quickly recognize a $39 suit, a $3 shirt, or a $1 tie. You should be better dressed than 90% of your patients," Dr. Roush concluded. Grooming is equally important. Many a patient is lost because of the doctor's poor grooming. Dirty fingernails and unshined shoes can cost you a lot of money. Get a haircut every week. Another badge of authority is the stethoscope. I learned about this symbol from Dr. Gordon Hoyser a couple of years ago. At that time, Dr. Hoyser said to me, "Rolla, always wear your stethoscope around your neck while you are making examinations." I began doing this and immediately noticed a definite change in the way new patients responded to my recommendations for complete examination and x-rays. I continued to use this procedure with all my new patients, and as a result, I soon had several extra new patients and a substantial increase in income. You see, wearing the stethoscope builds the doctor image. Another good procedure is to have your blood pressure instrument prominently displayed in your examining room or on your desk. My procedure is to hang the stethoscope around my neck with the diaphragm tucked in my jacket pocket. I put it on before my receptionist escorts the new patient into the consultation room. After my receptionist has introduced the new patient, I take the stethoscope off and lay it in a conspicuous position on the consultation desk and begin the consultation. When the consultation is completed, I put the stethoscope on again, proceed to the examination room, and begin the examination by checking the blood pressure. I do not take the stethoscope off until the examination is completed, and the new patient has been dismissed for that day. Let me stress the importance of beginning your examination routine with tests that are familiar to your patients. Let's face facts. A new patient is likely to be skeptical, ignorant, or misinformed about chiropractic. He is not sure what a chiropractor is or what he does. The unstated question in his mind is this the doctor for me? If you start with a weird and, to your patient, unorthodox type of examination, he will immediately recall all of the negative things that he has heard about chiropractors, and you will have created an unnecessary barrier between you and your patient. But if you will begin with familiar examinations, such as recording the weight, height, and blood pressure, you will be conforming to his doctor image, and thereby establish the common bond so essential to the proper doctor-patient relationship. I begin my examination routine by checking the patient's blood pressure, weight, height, and heart, all familiar examinations. At this point, the patient begins to relax and seems to be more at ease. Next, I thoroughly examine the area of chief complaint and connect it to the spine. Then it is an easy step to recommend further examination, including X-ray and standard blood and urine tests. The use of blood tests, and especially urine tests, are a sharp projection of the doctor image. The best procedure that conforms to the doctor image is to send your patients to a clinical laboratory for blood tests. For urine tests, give your patient a specimen container. He fills it in the privacy of his home and then mails it directly to the laboratory for analysis. In recent years, this procedure is widely used, especially in the insurance examination field. I further recommend it as an excellent practice builder. Many chiropractors do their own laboratory work. This creates the technician image rather than the doctor image. Doctors are wise in recognizing the value of the tests. However, the modern-day doctor image demands that the doctor be too busy to do all of the tests himself. While traveling, I often stop to advise and consult with other chiropractors and to observe their office procedures and patient management methods. I saw an example of the technician image during one of these recent visits. The doctor I was visiting gave an adjustment and then proceeded to give his patient a rub-down with oil of wintergreen. I am not criticizing the value of massage, but in my opinion, for the chiropractor to do this was like a top-notch medical specialist or surgeon emptying bedpans. Chiropractors are not technicians, but if we persist in projecting the technician image to the public, we threaten the very foundation of our professional status in the healing arts. Another facet of the doctor image is the public's belief that doctors should not criticize other doctors. Chiropractors are often guilty of breaching this basic tenet of professional ethics, and I know of no quicker way to destroy a patient's confidence than to criticize another doctor or another type of therapy. Here's an example of such criticism. A few years ago, one of my patients brought her mother, Mrs. Gray, to me for chiropractic care. Mrs. Gray told me that she lived in a town about 300 miles away and had been doctoring for high blood pressure for 18 years. She also told me that she knew nothing about chiropractic, but would be visiting in my town for 3 weeks, and if I thought I could help her, she would cooperate fully. I recommended spinal X-rays and blood and urine tests. After evaluating the results of her examination, I began giving her adjustments. At the end of 3 weeks, she went home feeling wonderful, and her blood pressure was down in the normal range. A few days after Mrs. Gray returned to her home, she kept a previously made appointment with her medical physician. He had been her family doctor and close friend for 25 years. Not only had he delivered her 6 children, but he had cared for many other members of her family. Needless to say, she had absolute confidence in him. His usual procedure was to check her blood pressure and pulse. After doing this, he looked her in the eye, smiled, and said, "Mrs. Gray, your blood pressure is better than it's been for many years." Mrs. Gray told him she had consulted a specialist while she was on vacation and had taken several treatments from him. "Good," he replied. "I'd like to know exactly what he did to you. Maybe it would help some of my other patients." Mrs. Gray then told him my name and that I was a chiropractor. He flew into a rage and made several hateful and disparaging remarks about chiropractors. Mrs. Gray was shocked. The doctor in whom she had placed her faith, her health, and her life for 18 years had in less than 10 seconds destroyed their friendship and his reputation with her. Mrs. Gray never went to him again. Remember, the idea that doctors never criticize other doctors is an integral part of the doctor image. The doctor image is changing constantly, and you must keep up with it. The image of 10 years ago is not the same as the one in the public mind today. Similar changes are reflected in other professions. For instance, ministers and their families are no longer expected to wear cast-off garments donated by the congregation, nor are they expected to subsist on handouts like poor relatives or charity cases. These changes in the public concept concerning the service professions mean that today doctors are not expected to wait until it is convenient for the patient to pay his bill, nor is the doctor any longer expected to accept sugar cookies or grandma's preserves as payment. Today, everyone knows that it is a community responsibility and a community obligation to take care of the poor and the indigent. And everyone recognizes that it is not proper for a single individual or a small group of individuals to have to bear this burden. Yes, today everyone understands the doctor's financial problems. During the past 10 years, thanks to the large increase in health and accident insurance coverage, the public has gotten completely rid of the old idea that doctors shouldn't think or be concerned about money. Today, the public expects and wants to pay cash for health care. People expect to pay an adequate fee for services rendered, and though the family budget may be strained, the patient does not expect to charge his doctor bill. He expects to go to his credit union or small loan department at the bank and make arrangements for enough money to meet his needs. Dentists, more often than chiropractors, find themselves not included under some insurance policies, and for more than 10 years the dental profession has been on a cash basis, and the public prefers it that way. Make definite financial arrangements with your patients. It's an important step to success. Have money talks with your patients in the beginning. Make all financial arrangements yourself. Do not shift this responsibility to your receptionist. If your receptionist makes the financial arrangements, your patients will get the impression that you are either too good to discuss money or that you feel guilty about the charges. You may have your receptionist collect and make receipts, but you must make the financial arrangements. If you are one of the many who still hold to old-fashioned ideas about doctors and money, listen to Dr. Cullum's record, Busy But Broke, at least twice a week. His clear word pictures will help you to establish the modern, up-to-date doctor image concerning money. You are projecting or broadcasting some kind of image all of the time, and this image has a feedback effect on your subconscious mind. Therefore, it behooves you to analyze carefully the images you are projecting. The question you must ask yourself is, if I am not projecting the doctor image, what kind of image am I projecting? Perhaps you began projecting the doctor image, then gradually, without knowing it, you broadened this projection until you are now projecting an entirely different image. As an example, I know of a doctor who felt he was doing the right thing to take an active interest in civic affairs. This was good until he began devoting so much of his time and energy to civic projects that instead of projecting the civic-minded doctor image, he began projecting the politician image, and the public forgot he was first a doctor and second a politician. His practice dwindled, and so did his income. Don't think this can't happen to you, because it not only can, but probably has to some degree, unless you are already aware of this professional hazard. Examine yourself carefully to see if you are projecting any of these common, dangerous, income-depressing images. I've already mentioned number 1, the politician image. Number 2 is probably the most common, the hunter, fisherman, or sportsman image. Watch this one closely. It hurts business 2 ways. First, you are projecting the wrong image. And second, sports and keeping up with the boys takes a lot of time out of the office. Number 3, the joiner or clubman image. My advice is don't join all the clubs and get on all the committees. Number 4, I call the know-it-all image. I'm sure you understand what I mean. Number 5 is the technician image. No other image has done so much to keep chiropractic second class in the public mind. Let's wipe this one out. Another phase we must consider is that some parts of the modern-day doctor image are not good. We should avoid the negative portions just as vigorously as we strive to achieve the positive parts. Recently, national magazines have been publishing more and more articles concerning the rapid increase in malpractice suits, generated mostly by the cold attitude of many doctors. The answer lies in the age-old formula of the golden rule. You can never go wrong if you will just strive to achieve the same attitude with your patients that you would want if your positions were reversed. Personal attention and recognition of your patients as an individual is necessary before your patients will recognize you as the doctor who can help him. For example, tell your new patient that his case or condition is unusual or different in some way. This is good salesmanship and conforms to every person's personal doctor image. No one wants to be just another case. We all want to go to the doctor who appreciates that we are individuals. A dentist I know well always points out some unusual facet of the patient's condition before making any recommendations. His observations are neither complicated nor difficult. He may make a remark about the good condition of the gums or the unusually good condition of the teeth. This procedure is used by all successful doctors. The important thing is for the doctor to say something that will show that he recognizes the patient as an individual and is taking a special interest in the case. Such a simple thing to do. Yet if you will do this, your patient will recognize that at last he has found a doctor in whom he can have full confidence. The primary doctor image demands that you expend an effective amount of your time and energy toward getting sick people well. Of course, you want to spend time advancing your professional organization, doing church and youth work. You want to allow time for family vacations and caring for your investments. Yet, the major purpose of being a doctor is to help sick and suffering humanity to get well. Therefore, I want to warn against the extremes of social activity, regardless of how worthwhile the social activity might seem. Don't get involved in any project or activity that conflicts with or detracts from the doctor image. Conforming to the doctor image definitely requires a standard of living considerably above average. If necessary, during the early months of practice, this can be temporarily taken care of by putting on a front. You can take advantage of status symbols which have already been set as standards of success. For instance, there is more prestige in owning a second-hand luxury automobile than a new, small economy car, and your investment is usually considerably less. Careful thought along this line will show how you can get the most front for your money. Generally speaking, small towns and farming communities will demand less front from a new doctor than does a metropolitan area. However, in larger cities, you can put your best foot forward at the office and economize at home to get started, since patients in the larger cities are not usually aware of both your professional and home life. Recognize, however, that these measures are only temporarily effective, and if continued more than a few months, will be recognized for what they are. Consultation with other doctors is an integral part of the doctor image. It is also a frequently misunderstood and overlooked phase of practice building. If you would like to increase the traffic flow in your office, seek out a colleague in whom you have confidence and arrange to exchange consultations. If you and your colleague are willing to exchange consultations freely, you can suggest a consultation on most of your cases. Be assured that such a procedure will be very profitable to you. For instance, before I accept a serious chronic case, I suggest to the patient that I would like to have a consultation with another doctor. I then have another chiropractor conduct some special tests, such as a heart graft, neurological reflex examination, or additional X-ray studies. Many times, I could make these examinations myself, but by suggesting that another chiropractor be called in consultation, I receive the benefit of his unbiased opinion and evaluation. The patient feels a great surge of confidence, knowing that the recommendation for his chiropractic care is based on a joint verdict. Since in most cases there is no additional charge to the patient, everyone benefits as a result of my conforming to the doctor image. The doctor image is always right, and when you are acting in harmony with it, more new patients are referred to you. In a normal, healthy practice, each new patient should refer at least 2 additional new patients within a few days after starting adjustments. This normal response soon provides the doctor with a packed schedule every day. Many chiropractors enjoy this type of healthy referral practice. Other chiropractors get only occasional referrals, and for them, sustaining a high practice level is a constant struggle and often a losing fight. The doctor image extends into your office procedure, especially in regard to examinations. As an example, suppose you were to visit a dentist. The nurse takes your name and address. She escorts you to the dental chair and introduces you to the dentist. The dentist questions, "What seems to be your trouble?" And you tell the dentist you have a toothache. You point to the area of pain, whereupon the dentist says, "Oh, I know exactly what you need. You need a complete mouth x-ray, 4 fillings, 2 extractions, and a partial plate." Wow! If that happened to you, how long would it take you to get out of his office? My guess is about 10 seconds. What's wrong with his procedure? He doesn't conform to your doctor image, does he? He failed to make a thorough examination before he made a recommendation. The dentist should have looked into your mouth and examined it carefully before doing anything else. Until a few years ago, similar situations occurred in chiropractic offices everywhere. It was not uncommon to have a patient tell the location of his pain, then the chiropractor would tell the patient exactly what was needed in the way of chiropractic care. We chiropractors study the nervous system so thoroughly that we know from the patient's symptoms and pain exactly which nerves are involved and which vertebra is subluxated. In many cases, extensive examination was unnecessary, but it simply wasn't logical to the patient. Therefore, many patients lost confidence and went away without the help they so desperately needed. Today, this situation rarely happens. The modern-day doctor of chiropractic knows that it is wise to carefully examine his patients. He uses palpation, nerve tracing, reflex tests, X-ray, laboratory tests, and allied examinations. Of course, this is done to determine where the trouble is located and what should be done about it. But equally important, these procedures effectively demonstrate to the patient that the recommendations for therapy are based on the carefully compiled results of the examination. Yes, today, recommendation before examination rarely happens in a chiropractor's office. However, the initial examination is not enough. Wherever I go, whenever I visit or consult with successful chiropractors, I see that one thing successful chiropractors share is the practice of making frequent re-examinations. I see that the more successful they are, the more frequently they re-examine. The top producers make an examination of every patient before and after each adjustment. Here's what I mean. When you have a patient with high blood pressure, be sure to check the pressure before and after each adjustment. If you have a patient with a short leg, check the leg length before and after each adjustment. If you have a patient with weakness in one arm, have him squeeze your bathroom scale on each visit to demonstrate his returning strength. In cases of curvature or thin discs, measure your patient's height carefully and regularly to demonstrate improvement and to increase the patient's confidence that what you are doing is effective. Careful re-examination is the yardstick by which your patient can measure his progress. In chronic conditions, progress is gradual and slow. Most patients become discouraged before they can see results. They do not have your yardstick of similar cases and previous experience to give them confidence and faith. Someone once said that the secret formula to success is to find a need and then fill it. I know of nothing that the world needs today as much as it needs physical, mental, and emotional health. Chiropractic stands ready to serve Yet 90% of the world's population suffers needlessly because they do not understand or know about the benefits of chiropractic care. The doctor image is changing. The day of the part-time backroom practitioner of the healing arts is over. We must eliminate old-fashioned methods of office procedure and patient management. It is every chiropractor's responsibility to represent his profession by living up to the doctor image.